Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I would like to call to order the Board of Supervisors monthly meeting, this being October the 27th, 2020. Mrs. Johnson, before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to address an issue that I have been approached with on social media and by some constituents, and that is when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, that Mr. Black, now that we're doing virtual and all and cameras and all, that Mr. Black does depart the stage. And I have been asked why he does that. And my answer to those folks and anyone else that would ask me is that is his prerogative. And as much as people saw back during the Second Amendment sanctuary, as much as I support the Second Amendment, I also strongly, as one board member, support the First Amendment. And so therefore, if any member on this stage or Mrs. Johnson wants to depart this stage at any given time, I support them 100%. And I wanted to make that statement because I have been asked about that. So that is the statement that I am making on that. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Black has the right to leave off the stage or stay on the stage. That's his decision. And I'm hoping if I ever make a decision that affects me, my belief, that people will let me do that. So kudos to you. And you go back to, I think this started when the quarterback Kaepernick started this, and then it just kept on going. So now everyone is doing it. So if that's everyone's belief, I don't have any problem supporting it. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank you all for your support in that. I'd just like to let everyone know that it's not, I'm walking out for the unjust deaths of people in our community, and it's not just for a particular race, it's for all of us. And thanks for your support, and appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mr. Black. At this time, I would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I would ask you gentlemen to please speak up so that the people on Facebook and YouTube Live can hear you guys clearly, the three of you tonight. Also, for those of you that are in the audience, I would ask that you refrain from logging on to Facebook Live or YouTube Live while you're in the audience, because it will give us a kickback up here and it will cause a distortion in our service. So if you could just not log on to Facebook Live or YouTube Live from your cell phones in the audience, we would appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, item number 2 is the adoption of the agenda.
Gentlemen, the floor is open for a motion on the adoption of the agenda.
Motion for the adoption. Motion for the adoption of the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Mute yourself. Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black? And my vote is aye. Ms. Johnson, before we get with the consent agenda, I do want to make some changes. I would like to strike from the consent agenda the September 22nd, 2020 Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes, and I would like to bring those back for approval. And I would like to go over really quick what I would like changed on them. On page 11, during the second paragraph where Kevin Sullivan stated that he was addressing on the solar panels, next to the last sentence, he says he wishes the board would consider and not pass the ordinance. You need to remove the word not. On page 12, under the public hearing, the first public hearing closed by Bill Cota, I would like to have the minutes reflect the discussion that went into that concerning the NSA area. Is that correct, Dr. Russell? NSA? Neighborhood service area? Did she say yes? I can't hear you with these on. Okay, good. Okay, and I would like to have the discussion included in that right there where we discussed about that particular being in the NSA. Also, on the same page, first right under Virginia grounds, you have Cole's Courthouse Grill. That should be the other one, not Cole's Courthouse Grill. That should be the landscape business. What was the name of it, Ms. Russell, Dr. Russell? Anyway, we need to have the proper name put in that area right there. And also on page 13, next to the last paragraph, my name is misspelled spelled incorrectly. And then on page 14 at the very bottom, it says Mr. Finch, and that should be Mr. Tench, Tench. So that's the changes I would like, and so therefore I'm asking that those be struck for approval tonight. And I think that's it. If you gentlemen, do you all have any other changes to the consent agenda? If not, the floor is open for a motion with those changes.
Chairman, I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented with the changes that you just mentioned to September the 22nd minutes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? If not, your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? My vote is aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if we could, gentlemen, keep a minimum of noise at your laptop because the people in Facebook Live and YouTube Live can hear all the rattling. Okay. A presentation for the evening, the VDOT monthly report. Mr. Nguyen.
Mr. Wynn, before you get started, hang on just a second, let me unmute.
We got feedback. Hold on.
You can go ahead.
Go ahead. For those people that are out on YouTube, hold on one second. For those of you that are out on YouTube and Facebook Live, we will have 2 public comment periods this evening. We would ask that if you do have a comment, enter them in at any time throughout the evening, so that therefore, when we get to the public comment period, we will already have them up, so we don't have to wait, or you don't have to type it in. So feel free to type in your comment at any time during the meeting, so that it will be ready for our 2 public comment periods. Thank you, Mr. Wynn. If you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Johnson, Marshall Wynn with VDOT. I know you have the maintenance report in front of you. We received 96 work orders this month. We completed 81, had 5 call outs, and we had picked up about 40 bags of trash throughout the county. Just completed our dry runs for snow removal for this upcoming season. The fleet is in good shape. We're ready to go with our buildings. We're full of salt and abrasives and that sort of thing, and have our contractors on board that will be assisting us through the snow season this year. We're currently mowing on primaries, and as soon as we finish that, we'll go work toward finishing the secondary system. Couple of other things I want to bring up. Mr. Smith, that email you sent me, last week, and I replied back, are you satisfied with that? Or is it something more to it than what you were asking me?
You answered the question.
You're going to mute him.
You told me, Mr. Wynn, that, at the end of that state maintenance, that's where VDOT they don't go any further. So my question to you is, the individual that called me, they are past that sign. So what's his next step if he wanted to try to get it into to the state system?
Well, basically, from what I saw, it's gonna take a lot of work to bring, and I don't know what length you're talking about, how far he lives further behind, beyond the in-state maintenance sign. Basically, Route 690, we maintain 0.18 miles, as I told you in my email. And that road, I suspect, was a non-hard surface road at one time and was brought into the system on a rural rustic type venue. So basically, that roadway is no more than 16, 17 feet wide. And with a rural rustic, all you do is, add a little bit of stone and then prime and double seal it. So beyond that point, it looks like a driveway to me. So it's going to take quite a bit for that gentleman. And it's going to be tough for that other section he's talking about to come into the system.
But I still would like to have some idea what to tell him, because I want to give him an answer. He asked the question, what will it get? How can he get it into the system? So, like you said, it's going to be tough to get it there, but I still want to give him an answer. Well, you can send me an email what it takes to get back in. I'll give him a call. Okay. I appreciate your help.
All right, if anyone, hold on just a second.
Mr. Wynn, I want to thank you for meeting with Mr. Black and Dr. Russell and I the other day. We are starting the process of how we can correct the Glebe Lane in District 3 and some other roads in Mr. Black's district. So we sat down with Marshall Wynn and Philip with VDOT to go over some options for funding and how we can just be proactive before the development happens on the Glebe Lane. So we walked away with some very exciting options that we're going to explore, as well as I know that a lot of people in Charles City have talked about the ditches that needed to be cleaned in the county, and it was a ditch project. And so one of the barriers was that the funding to haul the I guess the dirt away from when the ditches were cleaned up was going to be very expensive. And so we reached out to Waste Management, who has decided to partner with us to dispose of that dirt for free. So we're excited that we can possibly, VDOT can start cleaning for that, and we may see some projects coming up in the near future. So thank you, Mr. Wayne.
All right, if there's anyone on Facebook or YouTube, and I do see that we have one comment from the C5, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Anyone else out there, please type in your questions that you may have for the VDOT rep while we are taking questions from the audience. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the VDOT rep, please stand. You can stand right at your seat, just state your name, and Mr. Wynn will take your question. Seeing that we have no one, we have a comment. We're on hold just for a second. You good? Yes, C5, I do see that the question is for the VDOT rep. I think he's trying to read it right now. Is that right? Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the roads he mentioned are some of the roads that we're gonna be working on with ditching and that sort of thing. Sturgeon Point has been a briar in my side ever since I've been working, as a residency administrator. That's 614, very close to Route 5. There's only one outlet for that water to go, and that's across Route 5. From what I've looked at in the past, there's no way it can go any other way but across Route 5 and down that road across Route 5. Wilcox Neck, there are areas that we're going to be looking at in the near future to hopefully alleviate some of the drainage issues. I actually went through Sturgeon Point the day that we had our meeting last week, and there was water on the road. I noticed it. Got with area headquarters. It's just a never-ending battle. Just same thing with Ruthville. We went into Ruthville today, and I know that's not part of this guy's question, but I want to bring it up to Mr. Black. The beavers are continuing to block our beaver stop with it looks like cattails to me is what they're bringing down the stream and just blocking everything up. So they cleaned it out today. They go clean it out tomorrow. They go clean it out the next day to try to make a move somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm aware of the ones for the routes, and we will continue to work on the ditching in those areas.
Well, Mr. Nguyen, we have another constituent, Christina Brown, who says, I noticed that the speed limit has changed to 45 for 1.2 miles on Lot Carey. Can it be posted when speed goes back to 55?
Was that done for the detour?
I have to look into that. Well, she wants to know if it can be posted at 45. That's
She's saying that it was changed to 45.
during the detour.
And will it be posted as to when it's going to go back up to 55?
Okay, I have to check into that. If that's what she's talking about. I mean, the bridge work has been completed and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, Miranda. The C5, I don't know if you have Mr. Nguyen's email address or not. You can call into the office and Miranda or Lisa can give you that email address for you to send pictures. And he will be doing updates at our next meeting on what we have talked about tonight. And Wade Potter, that's not a VDOT question. We'll get to that a little bit later. And so that's good. All right. At this, gentlemen, do you all have anything for Mr. Nguyen? If so, we're going to move on.
Mr. Nguyen, I noticed you said that you all removed some the beaver dam on 612 Ruthville Road. Have you noticed any of those mitigation strategies to actually impact that area positively?
Actually, when was going across the road, hadn't had any rain, and it was because of the beavers bringing, it looked like cattails into a beaver stop we had. And if we don't have that beaver stop, they'll bring that material right into the pipe and start packing it with mud. So it's easy for us to pick that. It's made out of angle iron and steel, and it sets right in front. It's a 90-degree angle. All we got to do is pick it up, shake it a little bit, and let it flow right on through the pipe. So the water was flowing when they left this afternoon late. So
is it just one pipe that's there, or is there multiple?
there's 5.
It's 5 of them. Okay.
5 total.
Okay. And is it safe for citizens to traverse back and forth over that road? Like, it wouldn't cause any type of life-threatening danger at, a safe speed, would it?
We're ordering some signs right now to say road floods ahead. And then we'll go I know you've probably seen, there's a sign that has a depth measure on it that we'll go put prior to the pipe crossing so people can see how deep the water actually is before they try to traverse it.
How high do you estimate that water could get possibly?
Pardon?
The water levels on that road, how high do you estimate them to be reaching, like throughout 4 to 5 inches? Okay.
It's going to be out there. They've got them in Henrico, in different places, and they go up to 5 feet. So you will be, yeah, similar to that. Yeah.
So until we like fully mitigate this or find some sort of strategy to fix this situation, what would you advise me and yourself tell citizens in that area going back and forth as they travel back and forth?
One area, but I've told the superintendent that I want him to check that thing daily. And if there's any debris in front of the pipe, need to clean it out. I'm trying to get the beavers to move is what I'm trying to do, since we can't get a permission from the landowner. And I actually looked at a topo map today, and upstream for where all that water's coming from, there's a pond or a beaver pond up above there. So that's where the beavers are coming from, in my opinion. And it doesn't take but a couple of days, if you don't check it, for that water to come up and start going across the road. It doesn't have to be a rain. As you can see, we haven't had any rain all weekend. Basically, we had a little bit of rain, but not much.
Yeah. Mr. Wynn, I just want to thank you for working with us, with Henrico County. I don't know if they copy you on the email or not, but we did get an answer, and I will be discussing that when Ms. Johnson bring up her comments. Yes, yeah. It wasn't positive, but I'm gonna discuss it further. But I just wanted to thank you for trying to help us out.
All right, Mr. Wynn, one last question came in. If you'll just address it at our next meeting, please. And it just says, also the repave on Route 5 is great. And will it go further? If you could just address that at our next meeting, I'd appreciate it. That question came in a little late. Okay. Thanks a lot, Mr. Wynn.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, before we go any further, I would like to point out that we do have our new superintendent of schools. She's going to get on to me for calling her out. But Dr. Joppy, if you'll stand, please. Dr. Joppy is with us this evening. That is our new school superintendent, and she's been meeting with the board. And we look for great things going forward between the Board of Supervisors and the school board, and Dr. Joppy and Michelle Johnson. Thank you for attending. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Coda. Not sure if you guys are aware or not, but this is your 150th year anniversary. The Board of Supervisors has been in existence for 150 years. Can you hear me? Yeah. And so we have a brief presentation, and Mr. Coda, if you could catch the lights, that we want to just take you, just catch the lights. We want to take you through history really quick and show you some of the things that your predecessors have done, and then some of the things that you have done in these 150 years, correct?
Ms. Johnson. Mr. Smith, you've been here. Mr. Smith,
Yes, sir.
you've been here for how many of those years? 150?
Probably half of them.
He said probably half of them. How long have you been on this board, sir?
I came on in 1991 or 1992.
1992.
Mm-hmm.
So it's safe to say that you're the second longest serving board member behind
Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you try this again?
That's good now.
So we do want to thank you all for your patience. The presentation will be made available on Facebook. We were having a difficulty bringing that into the live presentation. Next presentation for the evening, Mr. Chairman, you have in your packets. You can see now. The next item that you have in your packets are just the Parks and Recreation Community Engagement update. Ms. Barrow could not be with us tonight, but you do have. I will go over some of the things that has been happening for community updates. She's been doing a lot in the Department of Parks and Recreation. She had 90 driving movie participants, and I won't go through it all, but just wanted to let you know she had 29 customer engagement surveys responses. 11 Ride With Us participants for National Take a Child Outside Week. So she partnered with the Charles City Sheriff's Department, and they took a child outside for the week. She had a pop-up kickball event and had 13 participants there. So she's been doing a lot within the community, as well as collaborating with other departments. Upcoming events for October, it looks like this is a majority of this has gone on. Some medical enrollment workshops. She's conducted a soccer clinic. The next one is November the 15th. I can't believe I'm saying November tonight. Adult Paint and Chew is November the 21st. Medicare annual enrollment workshops. The next one is next week, November the 5th, November the 19th. Also parking lot bingo. So, you know, they've gotten creative with the virtual, so people can play bingo from their cars, which will be November the 24th. As well as this weekend, it's a drive-in movie at Harrison Park on October 31st, which is Halloween. Ride to Vote, she has a great nonprofit organization that she's partners with. So if anybody needs rides to the poll, they can contact Parks and Recreation, and she can coordinate that for citizens. As well as on November 4th and December 16th, she has session 2 of beginner tennis lessons. So Mr. Smith, I think you said you wanted to learn how to play tennis. No, I'm joking. November 4th and December 16th, tennis lessons are being conducted. And then November 5th and December 18th, youth art classes. So as you can see, the Parks and Recreation, they're conducting a lot of activities for the community. All of the information is on her website page, as well as Charles City Parks and Recreation Facebook page. And so if any citizens would like to know more information, they can go to those channels or actually call 652-1601, and someone in Parks and Recreation will be able to assist you. So we're excited that Parks and Recreation is continuing to produce great programs, Mr. Chairman.
We are getting comments that everyone is muted on Facebook.
Those who joined the presentation.
If someone would comment out on Facebook just to let us know that you can hear us, please, that would be nice. Thank you.
While we're waiting for those comments, Mr. Chairman, we will ask Dr. Russell to come up and present the courthouse area plan update. You will ask us as he's coming. You will ask us to ask us to go and do some more community engagement. She's going to give an update on hopefully for that program.
Dr. Russell, can you please go to Gary Mitchell's computer tomorrow and change his letterhead, please, to where it will properly reflect the board members? He changed it, but it's still reflecting incorrectly. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Ms. Johnson, members of our community who are present and those who are participating virtually. Want to just provide some very, very brief history regarding the courthouse area plan. Mr. Coda, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Black, you will recall that at your August meeting, staff recommended and the board agreed that we should engage in a community outreach effort with respect to adoption of the courthouse area plan as an amendment to the Charles City County Comprehensive Plan. As a result of that recommendation, staff did hold 2 community meetings on October 8th and October 15th, one in the morning and one in the evening. We posted an ad in the local paper, as well as a post on social media regarding our outreach efforts. And as a result of those efforts, we had 2 property owners in the area, Mr. Daniels and Ms. Whitaker, who participated in those community meetings, as well as a number of phone calls and one on-site visit for a property owner to get information about the courthouse area plan. We believe that that community engagement effort was the right thing to do, given that that effort started, I believe it started in 2013 and concluded in 2015 in partnership with Plan RVA. And it had been some time since those recommendations really were discussed with the general public. We believe that the document serves as appropriate and prudent policy guidance for the development of our courthouse area. And we're seeing quite a bit of activity with respect to our courthouse area with the Coles Grill expansion and our redevelopment of the neighborhood facilities building, the spur from the Capitol Trail going towards the school. And we think that effort and that energy will continue. And so at this juncture, it is our recommendation that you approve adoption of the courthouse area plan as a component of the Charles City County Comprehensive Plan, and it will then serve as policy guidance for any land use decisions that are made in the plan area.
Ms. Johnson, what action do you need from the board? To adopt. Okay, gentlemen, there is action requesting from the board to adopt the courthouse area plan as presented. So the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, any discussion on that at all? I just have a question for Dr. Russell. Dr. Russell, what times were the meetings advertised, the public hearings? Well, yeah, what times?
So the first meeting on October 8th was at 10 a.m. And then the second meeting on the 15th was at 7 p.m.
The only reason I ask is just hours of convenience for different citizens throughout the community. I was just making sure that we all had the opportunity to show up and voice our opinions and see what's actually going on. So that's all I had. And also I noticed that it said Mr. Daniels had some concern over the restrictive covenants. Which restrictive covenants was he referring to exactly? Housing.
In the plan area, and Mr. Daniels conveyed that the private property has restrictive covenants currently that does precludes housing, and that they would work towards removing that.
Most of it.
Okay. The restrictive covenant that was stated as a concern is that on the private property, there is housing is precluded, and the property owner indicated that they are supportive of the recommendations of the plan and will work towards removing that restrictive covenant. It's a deed restriction.
No more discussion. The floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve or accept the courthouse area plan as presented.
What we're doing is we're voting to make this part of our comprehensive plan. Is that correct? Okay, I just want to make sure maybe we were clear. All right, is there any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And my vote is aye also. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this brings you done, Ms. Johnson, on that?
Yes, if I could just really quick. I know that it looks like the concerned citizens of Charles City wanted to know where was it advertised? It was advertised in the Chronicle both times. Okay. This will lead us up into our public comment period.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there on Facebook or YouTube, we would ask that you type in any questions that you have while I'm taking comments from the audience. And at this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the board, we'd ask that you come to the podium and state your name. We do not need your address. You have 3 minutes as an individual, and if you're representing a group, you have 5. I will ask if you're representing a group that you identify that group.
Hi, I'm glad to hear the plan for the courthouse. Hi, Mr. Black, I have to meet you one day. You're my representative, and Coda and Smith. I'm glad that we're doing something with the courthouse. And that was the whole plan with Donald Hayes, to have things going on in the courthouse. Well, I requested 3 times in person, and I called 3 times, and I requested certain days at 6:30 to have a community meeting. And out of the 6 times, 3 in person and 3 by phone, and I did not yet receive the response, whether they denied it or not. And those 2 days were in October. It was the second week. I can't remember the exact 2 days. And the third week, either or, not both. But I gave the choice. And I requested for 6:30. And I still haven't heard. So my question is why? I've talked to, I won't mention names, I think they know who they are in the office. And that's where I am. So I'm not too happy, because why am I excluded from this community? I live here too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sherman. Anyone else from the audience like to address the board?
Ms. Johnson, Mr. Chair, Mr. Coda, board members, citizen attendants. I noticed today that we have, the Charles City is hot with COVID. We are up to 101 cases. And I came earlier, a couple months ago, and I asked if we could get a spot in Charles City that we could have the people, the nurses or doctors or whatever, to come into the county and test. At that time, they were at Samaria twice, but the members and the citizens didn't have time to go to Samaria because they let us know like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they both going to be there Friday morning at 8 o'clock. That's not enough time. Now, other counties have had them to come in and test. They gave them at least 4 or 5 days. I've known from for Prince George and everywhere. to come in and they'll let them know something this week, and they was there the following week. And I would appreciate it if you all could have someone to come into the county, and at that time they were giving the tests free, to have them come into the county, and we have the social center sitting there, and let the citizens know that they are going to be there. For instance, if you got them to come this week, they'll be coming next week, a date that they will be coming, and whether it would be free or what have you. But I do feel that we should do something with the county now being hot. And I call it hot because 101 cases as of this afternoon. To let them see if Mr. Northam can have someone to come in, set up at the center, and let the people know when they're coming, but give them enough time that they can go to have themselves tested. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? All right. At this time, I will ask Dr. Russell. I'm going to read a comment that was given to us earlier, and if you could just update the board so that we can hopefully update Mr. Wade Potter. He said, "Good evening. A couple of months ago, I asked how often the GIS county parcel maps are updated on the municipality website. I was asked to email someone with specifics. I emailed all of you with no response. And I thought, honestly, I felt that the planning department, because you all handle the GIS, correct? Okay, that you all respond. So I will ask you to go back and see when Wade Potter sent you an email and respond to him, please. There are homes in Trevor's Bend subdivision that were built in 2014 that are still not updated, making deliveries other than the U.S. Postal Service a challenge." And you can come back. She can come back later and see these questions or not. Okay. And I don't think we have any more. Let me scroll down really quick. I don't have any, do you? Okay. So at this time, I will close the public comment period. Mrs. Johnson.
Just want to inform you guys that we are getting a little bit of distortion. However, the citizens are not. So it's just because we're internal. So just, I know that's a little thing that's going on. So this brings us to our appointments. Do you gentlemen have any appointments for the evening? Reassessor. Board of Real Estate Assessors. Board of Real Estate Assessors.
I want to meet with what? I want to meet with people. Oh, yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have two appointments. I can put them into one motion, it's fine. The first one is Ms. Latoya Johnson Davis to the Planning Commission. And the other is Ms. Tina Armstead to the Board of Real Estate Assessors, and that's my motion.
Okay, Mrs. Johnson caught me in a big mistake because I was off in left field. So she's over there hooting. Okay, that is the motion by Mr. Smith. Is there any discussion on it? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black?
Aye.
And my vote is aye also.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This brings us to the County Administrator's Report. The first item for the evening is the FY22 budget calendar. Our Director of Finance, Ms. Abby Pemberton, will present to you the calendar, as well as the quarterly appropriations and the registrar's office plan. I'm sorry. I'm just giving you everything that she's going to. We'll just keep rolling through everything she's gonna present.
Are we doing quarterly or monthly appropriations?
She's presenting what we're proposing tonight.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Ms. Johnson. As Ms. Johnson just mentioned, first item, speaking about, it's hard to believe, but it's that time again to start preparing for the FY22 budget development process. And in your packets, you'll see a preliminary draft of the FY22 budget calendar. We recently had a staff kickoff meeting internally, and each department was given funding request packets. Those are also now available for outside agencies, and we're asking for all funding requests to be returned by November 16th. If you have any questions about the dates outlined, I'd be happy to discuss.
Ms. Johnson, in this budget session that we're currently in, we did something that this year that we had not ever done in the past, and we actually had a joint meeting with the school board to discuss budgeting. Is that on the calendar? And if not, I as one board member would like to see it added, because I really do think that was very beneficial. That allowed the school board to see what we face and allowed us to see what they face. During our meet and greet, Dr. Choppy talked about teacher salaries and competing areas and et cetera, and that is a great time to have those discussions. So I would like to have a repeat of that. I think it was when did we meet on that?
So, Mr. Chairman, when we did the school board of supervisors retreat, it was in January of this year. So my question is, if you look at the calendar, January the 11th is when all departments and outside agencies will present their budget right in the new year. So would you like to have that meeting after that meeting to meet with the school board? Because we'll have a rough draft or preliminary numbers then, or would you like to meet with the school board and board of supervisors prior to the January timeframe?
Dr. Choppy, when do you start having, and I know you're brand new, so if you can't answer this, please just get back with us. And Ms. Johnson, you may be able to answer too. When will you have your pretty much rough numbers that you can start talking as your baseline? What date would that be? Okay, Ms. Johnson. Then that would work good with your January 7th. You're talking about, or right in that area?
No, so our meeting with departments, you all will meet all day with departments on January the 11th. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention, Mr. Black. January 11th, we'll start that meeting at 8:30 in the morning, and that's how we go actually all day. So I know that you would have to take off time from work for that. So do you want to meet with the school board after this meeting? She looks like, I think she said you'll have preliminary numbers around the December timeframe. You'll have it to your board in December, correct? So do you? Okay, so they will get their information in December. So it may be best for January for us to meet with them to give them time to get their numbers from their board and then give us time to know what our preliminaries are. I think we did it around January 20th. So we can kind of schedule it on a Saturday. So we hopefully can agree to meet on a Saturday for an all-day event. Again, a budget shop between the two boards. Sorry, Mr. Black.
You trying to take away my Saturdays? We can think of another day, can't we?
It's called public service, sir.
Figured y'all ain't had nothing to do anyway, so it's all good.
Meeting. I see a head nod from Dr. Choppy, so if you would include that. Are we adopting this calendar or anything, or are you just bringing it to our attention?
No, we have to adopt it as we're doing our budget. Adopt it as we're doing our budget planning. And then we will add the date. We'll amend this calendar and add the date that we can get both of you guys to agree upon once we have a date from Dr. Joppy for the school board, sir.
So it's a living document. Good deal. Gentlemen, I motion that we accept the budget proposal as presented. Any discussion on my motion? Vote, Mr. Black. Mr. Black.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith. My vote is aye.
Mr. Chairman, some folks online can't hear. I don't know if that's some on our end or.
Next, sorry, I'm losing my voice this evening. The next item, county staff is requesting the approval of the board to transition from monthly appropriation requests to quarterly requests. This change will increase operational efficiency in the finance department and across all departments. And we will still accomplish the original intent of appropriation requests, but I would welcome any questions you might have. Or...
Dr. Joppy, glad you're here with us this evening. This was originally brought to our attention by the previous superintendent that it would work so much better for his budgeting, et cetera, if we went to quarterly appropriations versus monthly. And this is something that we have been talking about. Do you agree with that? Okay, she does. I just wanted to get that input from her. I do not have a problem at all with quarterly appropriations. Gentlemen, you okay with it? If not, the floor is open for a motion.
Chairman, move that the request coming from staff for approval of the quarterly appropriation be approved as presented.
Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? Black?
Aye.
My vote is aye also. Ms. Johnson?
Third item, the General Registrar's Office has recently secured grant funding in the amount of $7,368 through the Center for Tech and Civic Life's COVID response program. This program and these dollars are intended to aid localities in planning and carrying out safe election practices. The request before you this evening is for acceptance of these funds and authorization to make the correlating budget amendment to reflect receipt of these funds. That's the biggest part.
All right, gentlemen, do y'all have any questions?
I do. How specifically will this aid the election process and the planning and carrying out of safe elections? What specifically would the funding be used for? Do you have any idea on that right now or no?
For information than I do. I know it's my understanding it was pretty general in terms of being eligible for expenses related to carrying out, I guess, election day sites and voter. I don't know if Ms.
So the funding that the registrar received was to help with COVID-19 precautions for election day, and so that we can keep the public safe during the elections. So that was primarily the reason for it. Also to assist with some technical things, some software that they needed for the protection. She may not have anyone to come out to vote, or she's had over 2,200 to come in and vote already. So we are giving her this. We've received 5,000 masks and 5,000 bottles of hand sanitizer that we will be giving her. Also, for each polling site, we'll get 500 bottles and masks. And also, we have 100 that we place in her office. So as people come into the office to vote, they can grab a face mask and a bottle of hand sanitizer as well. So it's to help with the COVID-19 precautions.
I have a question about the registrar's office after we vote on this. All right, gentlemen, any questions? If not, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve to approve the receival of the $7,368 in grant funding through the Civic Center, the Center for Tech and Civic Life's COVID-19 response program. What? So do I have to say any type of amendment type thing or no? Or I can just say, Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the award for the the registrar's office.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? If not, your vote, Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Smith? And my vote is aye also.
Next item, the school division is requesting your approval to amend the current year FY21 school grant fund budget for two items. First is a total of $545,122 in new grant funding awarded. And the second is a carryover request for grant funds from the FY20 budget in the amount of $219,254. And you have details of each in your packets.
Ms. Pemberton is. Ms. Pemberton, I will always ask this question anytime you come to this board with grant funding. Is there any match? And you can just shake your head so she doesn't have to mute and unmute. There's no match to this. Is that correct? Okay. And the carryovers from last year. Why so late in the year for carryover?
I know several things, they have kind of a rotating calendar with a lot of these, so things are finalized later at different points during the year on the school side.
Gentlemen, floor is open for a motion on the school grant budget amendment request.
Mr. Chairman, move that the two requests coming from the school be approved as presented.
All right, is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Okay, your vote, Mr. Smith? And Mr. Black?
Ah,
And my vote is aye also.
And last item, or second to last item, following the sale of county property listed at tax map parcel 4-3-37, county has received payment for a full amount due of $75,110. And a request is before you tonight to approve, for approval to amend the FY21 budget to reflect receipt of these sale proceeds.
Ms. Johnson, just a little bit more information as to what it is we sold.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you recall, you all had, the Board of Supervisors had designated property in the Roxbury Industrial Park for a fire station. And we found that that property was not suited for a station, and we earmarked the 5 acres donated by S Power for the fire station. And so we decided to sell that parcel. The total was $75,100.
Who did we sell? Who did we sell it to? Is that Randy? Randy? Second. Hold on. Is that legal for me to ask that? Okay. I understand. I just want the public to know.
James III.
Were the Roxbury covenants included in the sale? Thank you so much, Mr. Boyd. Okay. Gentlemen, y'all have any questions?
yeah, you got a question? Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Johnson and I guess all of us here on the board. Did we have any type of predetermined goals or any type of allocation plans for the 75,000, or it's just something that we're gonna leave out there?
Anything but District 3.
You said that live.
That's one thing I learned about you. You are a good representative for District 3 and your constituents. This man tries to get everything for District 3. Good job.
Mr. Black, we will earmark a portion of that for the purchase of the Parish Hill School. Mr. Boyd is negotiating that contract now. That will come back before you guys next month. And so we'll be using a portion of that for the purchase of that. That will be our recommendation. Let me just say that. Trust me, we can spend it relatively quickly.
Earmarked for? It's tough to hear. What did you say?
So we're going to make a recommendation to use a portion of it for the purchase of the Parish Hill School that you guys approved last month.
The what?
The Parish Hill School.
Okay, I was going to ask about that. If I'm not mistaken, there was a motion. If I'm not mistaken.
You're muted.
If I'm not mistaken, and we need to go back and look at the minutes or whatever, there was a motion made that when we decided to put this property up for sale, that money would be earmarked for the fire station that we're going to build on 106, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct?
I don't remember, Mr. Chairman, but I hope that's what it is.
I'm almost positive that this board earmarked 100% of that money toward the construction of the new fire station on 106. If that is the case, could you please make sure that those wishes are carried out? And if not, please let us know next month, yes or no.
We'll have staff go back and research the minutes, Mr. Chairman, and if that is the case, we can put it into the emergency services fund balance to get us closer to the new fire station that we're planning for Route 106.
With positive. Okay. So we need sale of the property.
We need a motion to accept the funds and to amend the budget.
Floor is open for a motion, gentlemen, unless you have any other discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the request coming from Canada staff will be approved as presented.
Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
The next item is the PSAP NG 911 GIS project funding. Is that you? Hold on. Mute your machine, Mr. Chairman. Mute your machine, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead, Dr. Russell.
Good evening again. I believe it was in FY18, Charles City County was awarded the PSAP E911 grant, which is funding provided by the state for the county to update its address and parcel level data that is used for our E911 emergency dispatch system. We were fortunate to partner with GIS Inc. in updating the data, particularly after we lost a staff member who was specifically skilled in that area. And they have completed the update of the data, and they've been submitting it for quality control purposes to VGen until we get a score of 100% accuracy.
So, Mr. Chairman, we had $83,732 left from FY 19-20. And we're requesting the remaining balance be rolled over into this fiscal year. It's on page 104 of your booklet.
This is to update the GIS, Dr. Russell?
Yes, the addressing, the address level layer, the addressing layer.
Would that cure Mr. Wade Potter's problem over in Trevor's Bend with that not being on our GIS?
It actually, the short answer is no. The quick answer is because we had retained GIS Inc. to provide this level of support to the PSAP grant, that they have agreed to support us in updating our parcel level data. And so that scope of work is going on with that private consultant. They're supporting both activities and invoicing us separately.
So when would Mr. Potter's comment be addressed as far as updating the GIS to include that? And if you answer that, I'm sorry, it's tough to hear and all.
Mr. Potter is related to Trevor's Road, is that not correct? The Trevor's Bend subdivision. So we didn't start with the most recent subdivision activity. We started with those that are the furthest behind and are working our way forward.
Any idea of how long it will be before our GIS could be considered? I know it's constantly changing, but considered pretty much up to date.
Our target date for so our vendor is not in the community, and we are forwarding them the approved plats and files by calendar year. That is being done. That scope of work is being supported by a temp and those funds will expire at the end of the year. And so by the end of the year, all of that data will be provided to the consultant.
Can you give an update to the board next month? Is that, I don't want to ask too quickly, but can you give an update to the board next month as to when projected dates, et cetera, for the GIS to be totally updated? Am I asking too much?
We can give you an update. We'll give you an update.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. So we need a motion, gentlemen, on the project funding, the 83,732 rollover. Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Discussion on Mr. Smith's motion. Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And Mr. Black?
Aye.
My vote is aye also.
Mr. Chairman, we'll have Ms. Pemberton come back up for the DMV Selective Enforcement Grant.
All right, the last item I have for you, and on the Sheriff's Department has been awarded the FY21 DMV Selective Enforcement Speed Grant, which is a pass-through funding program of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And these, since improving highway safety is a top priority at all levels of government, these funds will enable the county's Sheriff's Department to add overtime hours for additional patrol during high crash time periods as identified by the DMV. So the amount of the award is $20,934, and there is no county match required or requested. I'm requesting your approval for the acceptance of these funds and the authorization to amend the budget to reflect these additional dollars.
Gentlemen, any questions? Ms. Johnson, in years past, we have always gotten a printout of the recipients of the selective enforcement. I would like to have that forwarded to the board again, please, from the sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, you get it every month. Next question.
Did you say that with, thank you for that information, Ms. Johnson. All right, gentlemen, the floor is open for a motion on the selective enforcement grant.
Shall move that the DMV Selective Service Enforcement Grant be approved as presented.
Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black?
Aye.
And my vote is aye.
Next item, Mr. Chair, is a proposed zoning ordinance amendment shooting range update by Dr. Russell.
Good evening. One more time, Mr. Coda, Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, Ms. Johnson, and members of the community present and participating virtually. At your September 23rd meeting, the Board of Supervisors directed staff to commence work on proposed amendments to the Charles City County zoning ordinance regarding shooting range activities. I'd like to report to you at our October 8th meeting of the Planning Commission, we began this discussion with no resolution. That's not a bad thing. That's just because the topic is very involved, and our initial discussions really suggest that our focus should be defining structured shooting activity because our ordinance currently doesn't define it. And then some consideration for design guidelines for a shooting range. And so we will continue this discussion at our November 12th meeting. I can't promise you a date that the commission will be ready to forward a proposed ordinance amendment to public hearing by both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, but we are committed to continuing the discussions until it's resolved. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question. I just have a comment I'd like to make. When it came to the planning commission, I thought it was a very, very good discussion. There's a possibility that we might have to address it as an illegal handling of firearms. And we're trying to set parameters if you do have what you call a shooting range or whatever it is at your house, that there's certain requirements that you would have to meet to make it more safer. So I'm not gonna share that part right now. I want a finished product before I share it with you two gentlemen. Then we probably would have to go public hearing with it. But it was a very good discussion, and we wanted Dr. Russell to give us a proposed finished project at the planning commission stage before we bring it forth with a public hearing. Thank you.
I just have a question for members of the planning committee. Do you all allow citizens to attend and have some sort of input during these meetings?
Sure, absolutely. The planning commission has on their agenda a public comment period, and the public can comment on our discussions and our deliberations.
Do you all take any of their comments into consideration while deliberating and going back and forth about, how we're going to proceed forward with this?
Mr. Black, tell you the truth, I like for people to come and make comments at our meetings, because oftentimes they could mention something that we have never thought of. And I like that. And whoever make the comments or whatever the comment is, I will highly consider it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Russell, we have people here present tonight that have spoken on this issue. And for those people that are specifically interested in this, whether you're present tonight or on Facebook, or if you know anyone that is specifically interested in this issue, I would ask that you set up a data bank with those addresses and all of those people, and please notify them by way of mail. We don't need certified on this like we do the other ones, but if we can just make sure that these folks are notified of any meeting in the planning commission going forward, to where they will know that we are having a meeting and that they could attend and make public comment. So what we're talking about is what are we talking about? How do I label it? Ms. Johnson, help me here. There's been some complaints to the board about shooting too close to residential homes. And so therefore, that's what brought this issue up. I will say I have a shooting range at my home. So I'm going to be very interested in this going forward. However, I'm not against controls on shooting next to someone's house, because I'll be honest, my shooting range is far away from my home, way out in I'm not even close to any homes. And I really would not like someone shooting between me and the house next door, to tell you the truth. So I will be following this very closely. So that's what we will be taking comments for on this. So if you want to be included in the mailing list for the planning commission, please contact, I say your office? Yes. Dr. Russell's office, which is the planning office here at the government center, to be put on that mailing list. So you will be notified. Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Trying to stop individuals from shooting. We're trying to make it where it would be more safer to shoot.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I had something, but it sort of lost me just now. That was a good comment. That's all that was.
We can always count on District 3 to lighten up. Ms. Johnson.
Thank Thank you, Dr. Russell. The next item is probably the most exciting and proudest thing I have on the agenda for the evening, Mr. Chairman. Last week, actually, we received notification from October 15th, actually, we received notice from the Department of Housing and Community Development agency within the Commonwealth and the state. That we were awarded $500,000 to build a permanent food pantry here in Charles City. And so, as you all are aware, we are classified as a food desert with no viable grocery options. And we submitted a grant or application to DHCD for innovative grant. And we found out last week that we were awarded. So we are planning to build this building. We have some matching funds from some business partners because due to COVID, a lot of our business partners have reached out to us and said, you know, how can we help? And so we've had Bruce Howard and Betty Howard to give us some assistance with engineering. We've had the developers of Rivers Rest to offer some assistance. And so next month we'll come back with a full report of in-kind donations as well as the matching funds from the county. And then also we had our kickoff meeting with DHCD this afternoon, which was a very productive meeting, just going over the guidelines. And we'll probably extend this project. We're looking to actually have our grand opening next spring. For the permanent location. We won't give an exact date because we have a lot of red tape that we have to go through. But however, I'm excited that I'm requesting that you all accept the $500,000 from Department of Housing and Community Development and amend the FY21 budget accordingly. FY20 budget accordingly. Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
I want to make a statement. And Mrs. Johnson, along with Rhonda Russell, Abby, and other people in this county, and I know Miranda and Lisa down here put up with the bulk of Michelle Johnson, and for you, I praise you for that. But these folks are working tirelessly to bring money into this county. And when we see that word grant, I don't want to say this too loud, but it's free money, which means we don't have to pay it back. You all brought in $3.9 million for the Comcast deal. You brought in $600,000 way back for you forgot about that one. That enabled us to get fiber into this county. Oh yeah. You know, you all worked very hard on that. And now tonight you've got $500,000 to do this food pantry. And the beauty part about having not only a staff, and I don't want to take the focus off the staff at all, but the beauty part about having a county administrator that grew up in this county and is vested in this county is they work their hinds off to make this community better. And in my time on this board, as one board member, Ms. Johnson has done an amazing job. She selected amazing staff, and they have put together grant after grant after grant to make this a better place for all of us to live. That was the statement I want to make. That does not mean you're getting a raise. So, gentlemen, do you all have any comments or questions? If not, the floor is open for a motion. What we need to say that we're accepting the 500, or that we're accepting the $500,000. Say that again. And amend the budget for this to go toward our food pantry.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we accept the $500,000 in grant funding and also amend the FY21 budget.
Perfect motion. Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item I have is the CH2M Hill contract renewal. As you know, that we have been with CH2M Hill since the waste management landfill was brought into Charles City County. Unfortunately, we are finishing out this year without Mr. Joe Spears, who we lost earlier this year. And so Marty Reef actually still with us, and actually Joe's son has taken his place with the company. And so tonight I am requesting that we renew the landfill monitoring contract with CH2M Hill for the total of $293,008. And please be reminded that all of the monitoring funds are reimbursed to us completely by waste management. So this is not some funding that or expense that the county pays for. We pay for it and then we get reimbursed at the end of the year from waste management. So I'm requesting that we extend or renew our contract with CH2M Hill for landfill monitoring. That is my request, sir.
Gentlemen, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, move that the contract to CH2M Hill be approved in the amount of $293,800.
All right, I do have some discussion on Mr. Smith's motion of acceptance. I got a question for Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson, you have stated over the last few years that somebody needs to mute. You have stated, Ms. Johnson, over the years that you have wanted to look into the prospect of adding a FTE, full-time employee, to our planning department, which will also ease, if I'm not mistaken, the ENS on Dr. Russell, erosion and sediment. Am I correct so far? Okay. And we've talked about it. Where are we on that as we sit here today, Ms. Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed contract that was originally provided by CH2M Hill was for 3 years. And so I modified that for 18 months because we are still developing the plan. We were making great strides and hopefully to deploy that FTE in the next budget year. However, our building official, Mr. Dallas Johnson, retired. And so the building official position assumed, Dr. Russell assumed those responsibilities. And so that kind of, we had to stop and make sure that we focused on that so we could acclimate our new employee in that position. As well as she lost her administrative assistant, so we had to bring in a new person for that. So in order to get everything accomplished, you kind of have to get everything settled. And so we will be bringing that back before you, the recommendation back before you, before the end of the 18 months is out. But right now we feel like it's just necessary to focus on the needs that we have at hand with the building official and acclimating her new staff person. And then also we would not, if we brought in a new FTE right now, we have to figure out where we would put the person because staff, we're busting at the seams here in this building. So we're going to get really creative here shortly. But so within the next 18 months, during the FY 21-22 budget, we'll be bringing back that recommendation for you with the timeline.
Ms. Johnson, is there any way humanly possible that this can be executed any faster? And if you say no, I'll take that and move on.
No.
Made it too easy for you, didn't I? Okay, that's fine. Any other discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? And my vote is aye.
So the next item that we have on the agenda is B-poll tax. I think since you walked through the door, Mr. Coder, you have been talking about a B-poll tax for this county that you wanted us to implement. And so before you tonight is a request to actually have a time. We've presented a timeline to implement a B-poll tax, a business professional occupancy license here in the county. And so we work with staff, we work with the Commissioner of Revenue. We've given you some comparisons for other localities across the region: Richmond, Chesterfield, Henrico, Ashland, Goochland, New Kent, Powhatan, Hanover, just to give you some comparables, and just basically shows you the categories that they have for B-Poll, exactly the percentage. And so what we're proposing tonight is 15-cent rate that will be across all categories as we start the process. When we were speaking with the Commissioner of Revenue, that was her recommendation as well. She agreed with that recommendation because it would just make things really easier as we're beginning the process. And so as you have before you in your packet to implement this tax, we would have the Board of Supervisors authorize a public hearing for the proposed ordinance at the November 24th board meeting at a rate of 15 cents. We actually would delay the effective date of the ordinance until fiscal year 22-23, just to give us an opportunity to do some business engagement. We don't want to launch this in next calendar year, but just to give us an opportunity to, allow the businesses an opportunity to get some time together to understand the tax, how it's going to be implemented, and then the process that we're going to take. And then we would modify and implement an administrative processes and procedures in FY22 to support billing and collection of B-Poll tax assess. Again, this is something when you guys implement it, the assessment will be done by the Commissioner of Revenue, who has expressed the need for additional staff person to assist with this process. And so we are requesting that you guys give us the authorization to start the process of public hearing, and then move forward once we get feedback from the community, and move forward for implementation and business engagement. And I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Jump out in the front here since I've been preaching this for quite a few years. The chart that we're looking at on the localities for 18, 17, and 16, is that the total revenue that those localities collected from their B-Poll tax?
Yes, sir. So you can see our neighboring localities in 2019, Prince George collected about 35 million, Surrey County about 395,000, New Kent County a little over $1 million, Emporia about 797. Those are our neighboring localities that's close in size. And of course, when you can't really compare us to the larger localities like Richmond in 2018 collected 36 million, Chesterfield 21 million, Henrico 35 million, because of course they have more businesses, more opportunities. And then they also have a variation of between retailers, mail order firms, wholesalers and distributors, financial services, and business services. So they have different rates according to the category, but we are requesting one flat rate of 15 cents, sir.
Just so that everyone in the audience and also on virtual understands this tax. This is a revenue tax. It is not a profit loss tax. Pretty much the way it works is for every $100 of business that a business does, they would pay 15 cents to the county. I would fall under that because I own my own business here in Charles City and I collect sales tax and whatnot, so I would have to pay this tax. I'm disturbed by the figures that you have given us only because I don't think that it's going to produce enough revenue to offset full-time staff. Because if you take full-time staff out of what we're going to actually produce, then what do we end up with? What's our net? And that's the main thing. What is our net? If you look at like Surrey County, last year, they only took in 101,000 on this in 2018. Now they had a huge jump to 395,000. So I don't know what happened over there, but for 3 years they were running right along about $100,000. Unless I'm mistaken, we don't have as many businesses as Surrey does. Take out the plant, the power plant. You work in Surrey.
The marina. It's probably the marina that they have in Surrey now.
Okay. Do you feel that Charles City has as much businesses as Surrey County? And I'm asking, you think it's close? Okay. So I was asking our planning director, who used to be the planning director in Surrey. Is that correct? Okay. So the point being, if right now this is going to replace our merchant's capital tax, which this county gets about $29,000 a year, because you cannot have both. You cannot have a merchant's capital tax and a B poll tax. So if we're only going to net $100,000 on a B poll, then what are we really doing? If we're going to have to hire full-time staff to administer it. And that's something that I would like for you to look really, really hard into. I, as one board member, want to move forward with a B poll tax in this county. However, I do not want to impose this on our businesses if we're going to end up netting $30,000, because we're already doing that on our merchant's capital tax. So with that in mind, I would like to, I guess you're looking for a motion to start the process. Is that true or not?
You can see on page 128 of the recommendation. Step 1, you all can determine the tax rate. Again, the 15 cent is a recommendation. If you want to increase that, you see some of our localities have 18, 19, or 20 cent. And then you all would adopt, we would go out to a public hearing to adopt the BPOL ordinance. And then you would provide any repeal amends the business permit ordinance, and implementation of the tax by the Commissioner of Revenue and the Treasurer. And then the county administrator recommends implementation in FY 22-23.
Does anyone know how much? Are you muted? Does anyone know how much revenue we collect from the business permit tax today? That's okay. If you don't, that's fine. If you could get us those figures, please, Ms. Johnson, by the next meeting. I want to take all of this into consideration as we move forward with this. I'm in favor of a B poll tax. I've been in favor of a B poll tax. However, if it's not going to be beneficial to this county at this time, then I may change my position. So if all we're going to end up with is 100,000 and we have to pay out 50, 60 of that in a full time, it's not worth it. That's my stand today. So you need and I'm fine with the 15 cents to keep it simple across the board as one board member. Do you need a motion on this? Yes, sir. Okay. Let me mute. Go ahead, Mr.
You think we need to table this until staff do more study and give us a more accurate figure of what we would be collecting on this?
Mute yourself.
So we can bring you back a closer recommendation. I don't know that we can give you a projection for the actual revenue, that the anticipated revenue, but we can we'll do some research to see if we can give you a closer projection, as well as the FTE, and give you some more details. So tonight I just I don't really need a motion, but just allowing me to move forward to bring back the recommendation.
Like Ms. Cole said, you have a tax, you have to pay for someone full time, and then at the end you're in a deficit. That, I don't think that's the way it should work, but you don't know until you seek more into it. So you need
Really just a gentleman's consensus.
Gentleman's consensus on that.
Well,
I'm fine with that.
Hold on. Just
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Johnson, how much was that full-time employee, the FTE, for to assist with this? Do we have any estimate on that, or?
So we can bring back a recommendation from the Commissioner of Revenue, because that individual will be a part of her staff. So we can bring that recommendation back before you next month.
Okay.
Ms. Johnson, you're not going to be able to get a projection of the revenue that this tax will produce. I've been trying to get that for 6+ years. And I understand why you can't. I do. I'm not complaining that I haven't gotten that information, but up until we put a business permit in this county, we didn't know how many businesses we had. So if you don't know how many businesses you have, there's no way. And so we're not going to be able to get an accurate count, but by looking at surrounding localities and comparing ourselves, I don't see where, like Powhatan, 108,000, does Powhatan have more businesses than we do?
Mr. Chairman, I know we said we can't have a comparison, but this BPO is based off of how much revenue is generated, correct? From each business, correct? And then we do that per every 100, correct? $100. So it would seem feasible to get some sort of projections. I mean, don't businesses report their earnings or no?
Not to the county, only to the IRS. Because, I mean, it's like, no one knows how much I know how much my business would generate for this. I've already figured it up. But
you can report that, and then
I'm not going to report that, because then everybody's going to be sitting there saying, okay, now divided by 15. Man, that sucker doing this much business. However, there's no way this county does not know the revenue that is generated. And the only way we could find that out is for the businesses in this county, which they would not do until required, and I don't blame them, is to ante it up voluntarily.
Well, if they want to help Charles City further in the future, they would be willing to do that, correct?
Many comedians out of work, and you're trying to be funny, Mr. Black. No, on a very serious note, though, I've asked that question for 6 years, and I've gotten the same answer. There's no way to calculate that. Now, well, once I'll answer that. And he asked, well, how do other localities do it? Once you institute a BPO, then they have to report their sales to the county. But I'm saying by looking at, okay, so this is my fear. We go out and we hire somebody full time. No, hang on just a second. The Commissioner of Revenue has already stated she needs more staff to do this project. So we go out and hire somebody full time from Jump Street in order to get this project off the ground. We end up paying, by the time we pay benefits and salary, we end up paying $65,000. Ms. Johnson, is 65 just a good figure for with benefits and all included? I'm going to say 65, maybe 60. But by the time you figure in about 17% for benefits and all, you're going to be in that area. So all of a sudden now we've got another full-time employee, and we bring in $100,000, and we pay them, and we net out 30. We're almost there now with purchase tax.
Were you saying that for the initial startup for this employee, or because you said to get this thing off the ground? That's what you said initially. So I just want to be clear about it.
The Commissioner of Revenue is stating that she needs additional staff in order to do a BPO tax.
Is this through the duration? I'm saying like she's going to need this futurely.
All the time.
All the time. Okay. No, couldn't have a part-time employee or anything like that.
She's saying she needs staff. Okay. So, and I'm not denying that she doesn't need staff. I'm a numbers person. What's it going to net for this county? Is it going to benefit us, or are we just spinning our wheels? And so.
And we do have, of course, we have the business license that are instituted. And so the commissioner has a record of all the businesses, business permit that we receive on an annual basis. But again, because their financials or their revenue is reported to the IRS and not to the county, we won't know the anticipated revenue per se. But we'll come back with some tighter research for you guys at the November meeting.
Just looking at surrounding counties, it does not look good if we have to hire full-time people. So, gentlemen's consensus, do we want to have staff continue on? Because I do as one board member.
Okay. The next item that's on, actually the last item, is the Old Union Road truck restriction. So, back in September, I came before you, before the board. Several citizens requested that we restrict truck traffic on Old Union Road. We proceeded in October to have a public hearing that was approved. And then in November, October, November, citizens from Charles City Road complained that the trucks were now going to travel Charles City Road, and they would want trucks restricted on that road as well. So we found out from VDOT that we had to rescind the Old Union Road resolution and then do a new resolution with Charles City Road and Old Union Road combined. So we did that. And then we came back in January, held a public hearing with the new resolution, submitted it to VDOT, only for them to return and tell us in February that because a portion of Charles City Road is owned by Henrico County, that we would need Henrico County to join in a joint resolution because that road is shared between two localities. And then COVID hit, and so we weren't able to move things faster. But as soon as we came back into the office, I was able to communicate with John Patokas in Henrico County, who's the county manager there, who connected me with staff. So he reached out to Tyrone Nelson, Mr. Tyrone Nelson, who is the Board of Supervisor representative for that district, to see if he would agree to enter into a joint resolution with Charles City. And so before Mr. Nelson would commit, he actually wanted staff, because Henrico owns their own roads, to enter into a traffic study on Charles City Road. So you have before you in your packet from September the 25th, 2020 to October the 2nd, Henrico County entered into or conducted a traffic study on their portion of Charles City Road. And what they found that trucks using this section of the road in Henrico was less than 3% of total traffic. Large trucks, dump trucks, or tractor trailers were less than 2% in this time frame. This includes all trucks, even those such as garbage truck, farm vehicles, and local delivery vehicles. They were all less than 2%. Charles City Road is classified as an arterial roadway, and in their definition, will be anticipated to have as much as 10% truck traffic. So based on the study and prior studies, they found that the truck volume is not excessive in their road classification guidelines for Henrico County. And the results of the recent study actually informed us that they would not recommend to restrict truck traffic on Charles City Road on the Henrico side, and therefore would not be able to enter into a joint resolution to VDOT with Charles City County. I know that this has been a long process, but again, because we have to jump through so many hoops, it is, something that Henrico is not able to enter in at this time. One thing that I did talk with Mr. Steve Yob, he's a deputy county manager for community operations. If they did the study and seen anything over 10%, then that would constitute them to join in the resolution. So we are back to square one, gentlemen, between Charles City Road and Old Union Road. I know that we still are hearing from constituents. We're still having a problem on both, that we possibly go back and do the resolution for Old Union Road only. But I know, Mr. Smith, this is in your district, and I know that you've been getting tons of emails and phone calls, and so I will yield to you to modify this recommendation. But again, we have made every attempt that we can to rectify this problem for the citizens, and you have the full traffic engineering summary in your report that I can answer any questions to. But Mr. Smith, that is my recommendation at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. That's not really the answer that I was looking for, but that's what Henrico County sent back to us, so I don't have any other option at this time. And before I ask my two colleagues to support me on going back to Old Union Road and putting a stop for truck traffic there, I would like to think this through a little further before I make that decision. Ms. Johnson, is there any way that you can put this on a website or incorporate this into our minutes of the survey that they did when they gave you the percentage of truck traffic and the dates that they ran it? So the citizens that's listening now and the ones that have can go on the internet or whatever the case might be, that they can read this full report themselves. I would like to do that and put this in the matter of our minutes for records.
Not a problem, Mr. Smith. We will make sure that the actual report and email that we receive from Henrico County is instituted on our website as well as into the minutes. And then we will also we will have staff to create a link on social media that will take you right to the report and the information that we receive from Henrico County.
I'm sure I'll be getting more calls and emails, but that's fine. Like I said, any suggestion that someone can give me, I don't mind addressing or see what I can do. But I definitely would like the citizens to see the final answer from Henrico County. I made the pledge that I would try to do this, and I did try, and results of it right here. But I would ask my two colleagues. I would like to think about this a little further before I make a final decision on where we need to go to Old Union Road and get a resolution to stop traffic. The large trucks there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address Ms. Johnson. Is this report going to include some sort of legend to decipher this chart here, the traffic engineering summary? I mean, because if you look at it, it's like a bunch of abbreviations and such. And
Mr. Black, I will be providing the report as presented from Henrico County. And if an individual needs a legend, then they can contact Henrico County. Look on their website for further, because this is their report. So I'm not fully aware of, all of the details behind the reports, but we will make the report available.
Mr. Black, did you get this report that they broke it down percentage wise, how many trucks and that type of information? I think that might refer to the charts, but they're giving the percentage on the way they explained it on this one from the engineer.
yeah, I don't think I received that.
In their packet, Mr. Smith, I just provided the report. I think I gave you the full detail as soon as I received it from Henrico County, but I will make that available to your colleagues.
Okay. You can get that report. I think that would break it down and refer to those charts, because I look at those charts and I said, no, I'll stick with this one. Okay, gentlemen, if you do that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Smith, I don't have a problem with that. I feel for you on this subject. This thing has been going on forever and ever, and if you do one, you're going to mess up another one, and if you do, you're in a no-win situation on this one. I wish you luck, sir. I will follow your lead.
Mr. Pugh, who's joining us on Facebook, he had a recommendation to put the restriction on Old Union, which will allow the trucks to then go on Charles City and then have Henrico redo the traffic study, because then you should see an increase in, the truck volume. So that is a suggestion that is coming from Mr. Pugh on this topic. So that's something to consider.
The only thing that I would say, even though it's not my my district, if you're going to do that, do it on CC Road also. That way you can truly get all the traffic onto Charles City Road and then do a traffic study, and the numbers are going to be definitely different. That may be a good idea, and that may be your only option.
Just comment, if you change the traffic pattern, it's go up the percentage. So you kind of fabricating what you're doing just to get the numbers up from what this individual is saying.
It will get the numbers up substantially on Charles City Road.
Exactly.
You're in a no-win. As I stated, you are in a no-win situation on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Johnson, Mr. Wynn from VDOT did ask for a copy of this. I don't think he received it, so if you can send him a copy, I'd appreciate it.
Not a problem, Mr. Smith. I'll make sure that Mr. Wayne gets a copy of the report and the email. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my agenda for tonight. Ladies, do I have upcoming events? I do. All right. So October 31st, movies in the park. The Addams Family will be the feature movie for the evening. Gates open at 5:45 on October the 31st, sponsored by Xfinity as well as the Department of Parks and Recreation. Election Day is November the 3rd, so we would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for our day off for that. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and your colleagues. So county offices will be closed. The registrar's office, people can continue to vote until this Saturday, October 31st, for early voting. Veterans Day, November the 11th from 9 to 10, we will have a drive-through recognition honoring all of our veterans. We have a great I would say gift for our veterans, but we're going to make this a drive-through event due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And then we also will go back to, will we have the virtual, the Mr. Reverend Smith do the recording? Okay, so on November the 11th, we will, as part of Veterans Day, we will have Reverend Burl Smith will bring us a word of encouragement that we will be posting to our website and social media for Veterans Day. And so those are all of the events that I have. Recreation, Departments of Parks and Recreation has other events that you can actually go over to their social media and website and see what's upcoming for through their department for our seniors, for our young adults, and for our children. And that will conclude everything that I have for this evening, Mr. Chairman. That brings us to the second public comment period.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And for some of the comments that have come in off of Facebook and YouTube, if my colleagues don't address them, I will during our board directives and comments. At this time, we have our second public comment period of the evening. Same, we're going to ask that Ms. Johnson monitor the new comments coming in to make sure that we don't need to include something during this comment section. As far as a lot of the other stuff, we can answer that during directives and all. Same thing applies if you're representing yourself, 3 minutes of group 5. And we will ask that anyone out on Facebook or YouTube to please get yours in now, your comments, so that we can have those right after we do the audience. Ms. Robinson.
I don't know you.
No.
I too want to thank Ms. Johnson and her staff for all the hard work that they have done for getting grants in with no match, free grants, and to continue to get grants that is free that will help the county. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Anyone else from the audience? I see you moving around out there. You sure? All right. We are, Ms. Johnson, do we have any on, where are we at? Go ahead, take over.
So the first one that I would like to address, Ms. Turns, we do apologize for not giving you the dates for the courthouse, but we can assure you that tomorrow morning staff will be contacting you to schedule those dates for your meetings in the historic courthouse. Okay, so appreciate your patience. It looks like we've addressed majority of the comments, and we don't have to address all of them. We can capture them and come back next month in case we miss something. So I will just yield to you, Mr. Chairman, how you would like to handle the comments that come in.
I'll scroll through a lot of them we've already answered. All right. At this time, gentlemen, it is board directives and comments. Mr. Black? Mr. Black?
Ms. Johnson, I'd just like to know where we are when it comes to requesting or asking information for waste management about hazardous waste from residents. I I just wanted to know about the status of requesting a place to put our hazardous materials from residents, such as paints and oils. Have we spoken with Waste Management or um, sought after any location for those types of waste?
They have certain
You
days
gonna
of
you
the
gonna
year,
answer that or?
and I think it's twice a year. I could be mistaken, that they allow you to bring in oil and tires and that type of stuff. It's not done on a regular basis because it takes too much to monitor it. But if I'm not mistaken, and you can verify that, Ms. Johnson, but I think it's twice a year. It is, in yeah, that they allow you to do that at the main landfill, not at the convenience centers.
Is that something that could be posted on like our website or so that we can let citizens know when that time is so they don't miss it? I mean, I know people change oil maybe twice a year and paint their houses throughout the year, so I think that's something that'll be essential for them going forward.
So
I have
I
another
will,
comment also.
those dates, from Waste Management, so we can make that public information available on our website and our social media pages of the hazardous waste dates through the landfill. We'll have staff reach out to Waste Management.
And the other thing, COVID-19 testing. Are we having or setting up a station so that we can do that again in Charleston County while advertising that ahead of time so that at a convenient time so that citizens can get access to that? Is that something that we can work out in the near future?
Well, one of the things about the COVID-19 testing, I guess we'll have to reach out to VDH to see how they're going to work it. Both, when we did the first testing site, I think we had a little over 25 individuals get tested. And then each time, I think we've had 4 here in Charles City or 3 here in Charles City. And each of the last 2 were not, they did not have a large amount of citizens to come out. And so we will reach back out to VDH and make sure that we try to get that advertised. The only thing, if we're not sponsoring the COVID testing, then we have no way of advertising. The ones that are held at the travel center is not sponsored, or the county is not involved in those testing. So it's just the ones that VDH reaches out to. We've had one at the social center, but we haven't had one that the county has been involved in setting the test date. We did have a flu shot clinic on October 17th that we advertised, but we have not partnered with them again for the COVID testing. So we'll reach back out to VDH to see if we can become another test site and then make sure we have those dates advertised accordingly.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And also, got that. Oh, I have a question for Mr. Boyd. We continuously reach out to property owners for like beaver control and such on their property. Is there any type of legal action we can take, being that we can't reach them to handle issues that affect the community as a whole? Something that's like interfering with the public roads, like something that's involving their property, but it's not allowing county systems to fix it. Let's say I have a tree on my land that falls in the road, and we can't reach the property owner or a vehicle that's in the road or anything like that. How do we take legal action, being that we cannot reach them, to access that owner, to make them say, hey, we need to do something about this, bring it to their attention?
But I think to address the issue, Mr. Board, so the problem on Sturgeon Point Road with the water filtering back into the roadway, there is a beaver dam or a situation on private property, and we've reached out to the private owner of that property because VDOT would need to come across this property to get to the problem where the beavers have created, but we haven't been able to get a response back from that property owner. So the only way to solve the problem of the beaver, or at least try to eliminate some of the problem, is to cross the private property, which we can't get a response from, and VDOT can't get a response either.
Well, I only bring this up because this issue is, VDOT is claiming that the beavers are an issue, and it's causing a public safety issue when it comes to flooding over the roads. And I want to just get to the specific issue at hand. And if it's something that we can do legally, you know, taking some sort of legal action, being that we can't reach that owner, I think we should do that. And if you can get back with me, that'd be great. So we can pursue this further.
I'll just hold it.
Oh, there you go.
I don't need no more battery.
If you run across something else, just holler. Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith says he's fine. I'm going to run down really quick just a few of these because we answered a lot of the questions. And prior to the business permit, we did not know how many businesses we had in the county. But however, the business permit, which cost a business $30 a year, is pretty much voluntarily, unless our planning department notices a business that is operating without a business permit. We did that. I spearheaded that back some years ago because a lot of our businesses, such as landscaping companies and contractors located in Charles City, when they would work outside in another jurisdiction, they had to produce a business permit. Since Charles City did not have one, that was part of the reason, and the other was so that we could document how many businesses we had in the county. Someone asked if the state does not provide the revenue information. They do not. As far as safety measures for election day, I'm not really sure the question. I know that there's going to be a lot of disinfecting. We talked about that earlier as to protections that will be put in place by the county. And you all that ask questions, we do not, we don't establish dialogue during public comment period. We can elect as board members to answer some of your questions. As far as S-Power breaking ground for the solar products, they have been logging that property for some time now. They had a first projection date of October. However, that has been pushed back, but I anticipate that S-Power will break ground sometime in the first quarter of 2021. Okay, Dr. Furman, I see your comment, and we will get back with you on that. As far as the hazardous waste with Waste Management, Ms. Johnson, she will get on. We will offer an update on that at our next meeting, please, Ms. Johnson. And that's all that I see right now. Victoria Cox, Washington. As far as the full-time to be contracted out, that is something that we would have to talk to the Commissioner of Revenue on. All right, moving. Wade Potter, you asked if the shooting will be guns or archery or whatever it is. We are talking about guns, gunfire close to residences, and that's what brought this issue to light. And that's all I have, Mrs. Johnson. I know we do need executive session for personnel and anything else. Do we have investment? Anything else?
I just have one comment and a question also. I know our last town hall with internet was sort of like a disaster for Comcast, and I just like to tell everyone in the audience and everyone online to just be patient. And as we work through this, I'm pretty sure we'll have another town hall as we get closer and obtain other answers to your questions. And hang in there, and we're all in the same fight together. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Black. Also, last month we did defer action to this month, which we did not take, and that is on residential solar tax exemptions. And that is, we're waiting on more information from the Commissioner of Revenue as far as depreciation and whatnot on that so that we can make an educated decision. And I anticipate that will probably be back on the agenda next month or the month after. So we will be addressing that. It is not lost in the shuffle. Okay, back to, is that it, gentlemen?
Ms. Johnson answered the question earlier concerning the glebe lane, how we'll be using different opportunities and options through and with VDOT, and to include revenue sharing and those types of things to help improve the road conditions on the glebe lane. So that's where we are with that.
You know, Ms. Johnson, I think we have somebody now that will offer just as many comments and directives as I do. Congratulations, Mr. Black. Welcome aboard.
I'm so excited. Can't you see it?
Yeah.
So excited. But no, I mean, it's a lot
Here you go.
and take care of the citizens accordingly. So I can appreciate that. But we're working really hard. We found some great information from VDOT, something that actually the county has never done before. So we are putting together a proposal to assist and expedite the glebe lane, especially. But we'll be coming back forth with you. If not next month, definitely December.
All right, gentlemen, we need a motion for executive session for personnel and investment of public funds.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Black? My vote is aye also. Ms. Johnson, we're not expecting any action to be taken afterwards, are we? As usual, we do not expect any action to be taken after executive session when we return. However, you are more than welcome to sit here in the auditorium and wait for us to return. Sometimes we're back in 15 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. But anyway, we do not expect, and we do appreciate every one of you all coming out this evening, and we hope to see you at our next meeting. Thank you very much.